Hi, and welcome to the second installment of the UFO asteroid game for GameMaker. In this episode, we're going to begin by creating objects and moving on to adding programming to our various elements. Let's get started. We're going to go ahead and create objects for OBJ UFO, meteor large, meteor medium, meteor small, and photon. We're going to skip ahead, but I will create one for you, then you're going to duplicate this process for all of those objects. So to create that object, I'm going to click on the Create Object icon, OBJ UFO, select the UFO sprite, click OK, and that shows up under Objects. You now do the same for the 3 meteors and the photon. Okay, now that I have all 5 objects created, I'm going to save my work, Command S. I'm going to open up my room 1. Let's make that nice and big. I'm going to go ahead and place one UFO lower third but toward the middle of the room. Click on the UFO, place a UFO about there. And I'm going to place 2 large meteors in the room. I'm going to place 2 medium meteors somewhere in the room. I do not want any of these objects to overlap. And 2 small meteors. So I now have 6 meteors and the UFO. Let's go ahead and save that. If I wanted to see what that looked like, I can go ahead and run the game. Now I have my meteor spinning and the UFO just sitting stagnant. Go ahead and close that and we will move on. Next thing we want to do is fire the photon. So let's open the project's properties dialog box for the UFO. Double click on UFO. We're going to add an event, and this is going to be a key press. Notice we're not doing a keyboard but a key press, and we want to use the space bar. When we hit the space bar, our photons are going to fire. Under main 1, we're going to grab create instance and drag that into actions. It's going to apply to self, and under object we're going to create OBJ photon. X and Y are going to be 0, but we will click relative, because that will actually cause the photon to fire from the UFO. So let's go ahead and click OK to that. Let's go ahead and save the work. Let's go to launching the object. So right now we do have a photon, but it's not going anywhere. Let's go ahead and work on launching the object now. If we open the object property box for photon, we're going to add an event, create, and we're going to use speed vertical. In the speed vertical box, we're going to set it to a -10. It's going to apply to self, not relative, and click OK. Click OK again. Let's go ahead and save the work, and let's test this out. Okay, so what we basically just saw, we'll do that again, what we basically just saw is the photon launches, it keeps pulsating, we really don't want that to happen, and it leaves the room. Every time we shoot a photon, what's happening is it's continuing beyond the room, and the game is keeping track of that object as it flies past the room. We don't really want it to continue once it leaves the room. So first of all, we're going to need to fix that bug. Otherwise, eventually, we will shoot so many photons, the game's going to slow down. So let's go ahead and close that. Let's go back to OBJ photon. We're going to add an event, and this time it's going to be other, outside the room. So basically when the photon leaves the room, we want to go to main 2 and we want to destroy the instance. So we drag destroy instance in and we have it apply to self, click OK. So now that will be destroyed when it leaves the room. Click OK, Command S, and we go ahead and test it one more time. Now notice too that the photon leaves the spaceship from a very odd spot. It's leaving from the front edge, and we really want it to kind of launch from the very top of the spaceship. So let's go ahead and go back out. We're going to go out to the sprite property box for the photon. And now over our origin, we want the origin to be centered on the photon. So it's going to actually center that point whenever it references the photon. We're going to do the same thing with the UFO. Let's double click UFO and we'll hit center on that as well. But we don't want it coming right from the center. We're going to drag and have it come from about the middle of that top dome and let it go from there. Click OK again, save our work, and let's test that out. So now our photon is actually launching from that top dome, and that's really where we want it to come from. So far, so good. Let's fix the photon now so it doesn't pulsate. We're going to go back to OBJ photon. We're going to add an event. This is also going to be other. And this time we're going to have animation end. Now, when the animation ends, we want the sprite to end. So we're going to go ahead and destroy the sprite, have it apply to self, OK, and OK again. And we're going to go ahead and change the vertical speed. So let's go back to our vertical speed under Create, and let's change it to a minus 25, because before it didn't go very far. We want it to travel further. So by doing a vertical speed of negative 25, it will travel faster and further. And let's go ahead and save it now. Command S, test it one more time and see what that looks like. Good. So we got one nice long shot of that photon leaving the ship, and that's looking pretty good. Okay, we're going to save it right here. We'll continue with moving the ship in the next episode. Until then, we'll have fun.